as I was working on carving the text on the inside of this box, I happened to realize a bit of an issue with what was going on, and that is that I applied the pattern upside down on the inside of the box. So you can see the top of it sits this way with the hinges, and it opens up this way, and when you do that, the text is upside down. But I already started carving, so I can't just erase and start over. So I was trying to figure out what I can do about that. This is a commissioned piece, so I really don't want to present it to the customer this way, but I also really don't want to have to buy a new box, restart, do all the carving again, because I'm pretty close to done here. So, well, maybe I can take the hinges on the other side. Well, it doesn't work, first of all, because then it would just be the same problem in reverse, that then it would open this way and they would still be opposite each other. So really, and besides that, the box is chamfered to open this way, so if this were the front of the box and opened on this side, that wouldn't look good on the front. So trying to figure out then what I can do to cover this up and restart, and realized, well, maybe I can use one of my practice boards and kind of glue or set that down in there. So got one of those to see if they were the right size, and of course it's not. Just a little bit too wide in this dimension, and if I put it on the inside here, you can see it's quite a bit too long in that dimension. If I had power tools, that probably wouldn't be too big of a deal. If I had a table saw or something, could just quickly measure that up and run that through, but I don't. So I kind of took some coarse measurements, used my handsaw, just clamped that down onto the desk and did a rough edge to get it about the right length, so that then I could use my knife and sandpaper to get it exactly the right length, and then did the same thing on the edge. And even though this is a square box, as is often the case, it's not exactly perfectly square, so and also I can't, this saw isn't really going to work well for this long of a cut. So I just took some, made some marks for about the width that it needed to be, took my Old World carving knife here, and just kind of ran along this way to shave it down to be about the right length, or rather about the right width. And then at that point, it was just kind of a matter of going around all the sides here to make sure that it's a nice snug fit in all the sides, all the dimensions, because I don't really want it to stand out. I want it to look like this is naturally in there. And I also don't plan on gluing this, just because I don't think I need to. And so I'm getting this a nice, snug, tight fit press fit, and I'll use clamps to kind of draw it down in there once I'm done. But one nice side benefit this has is I was having a real hard time with the chips in here with this raised edge around there. I can't really get my hand in there, and I have to kind of come up at awkward angles as I'm turning it. So by doing it this way, I can carve much more naturally and easily on this nice flat open surface, and then just place it down in there. To assist me in getting a nice tight fit and making sure that I'm not marring up the edges and stuff as I put it in, I chamfered, put a nice angled edge on all of those. That'll help it kind of fit its way in there, but then squeeze tight. And I also, probably doesn't show up well on camera, it's really subtle, but when I was sanding the edges, I sanded them at a little bit of an angle this way, so the bottom side is a little bit smaller than the top side. So again, kind of wedging to create a nice tight fit that you'll see on the inside surface when I'm doing that. So I think I've got this a nice fit. I don't want to get it down there too fully at this point, because once it's in there, it's not going to come back out. So right at this point, you can see I had some markings here, just indicating where it needed a little bit more sanding to fit where some high spots were. So very rudimentary, very basic sort of method to get this thing to fit and to solve this issue I've got. So at this point, I'm going to have to redo the pattern, put it on here, and then Once I get that fully carved, I will very carefully take note of the arrangement of the top and bottom and make sure that I put it in correctly, which should be pretty easy because I know just upside down relative to this. And like I said, I'll then take some clamps and really squeeze that down in there. And I don't know, maybe I'll use some wood glue too just to be sure, but it's probably not necessary. So once I get all that work done, I will continue and share how that. And I've got the inside of the box finished carving here, and it's probably too hard to see on the video if I bring it up close, but the quality of the carving that I was able to do with the separate piece, not having my hand inside here, is definitely much improved, especially in the elephant, because that was tight up against both corners here. And obviously it also went a lot quicker as well to be able to do that. So now, before I apply the sanding sealer, I'm going to go ahead and put this in place and kind of form it into one piece here before I start applying the finishing products. And just to confirm, this needs to be upside down. You know, this is the wrong way around, so I need to put this in this way. And just to confirm, this is the top of the box. When you open it up, there it is, facing the correct way. And you'll see as I get it inserted in there, it's a really tight fit, so I probably don't really need the wood glue, but I'm going to go ahead and use it anyway just to help it really bind and be extra solid in there. And also the this board that I'm inserting is not very flat, or it's not quite flat rather, and so it's got a little bit of a bow to it, so hopefully applying the glue will help it sit a little bit flatter in there once I clamp it down. So put it in upside down to that. This nice snug fit. Hopefully it's not too snug that the air's not able to get out of there. Just realized that for the first time. Might actually be creating a bit of a air pressure in there. So I've got some pieces of wood here to protect the box from the clamps. Alright, got all the clamps in place. Now I'll just start tightening those down to drive this board into the bottom here. Alright, I think I've got all four corners properly clamped down, and we'll let that glue dry and come back to that to start the finishing process. Quick intermediate update here on progress of the box lid. It is done being glued, that's all dry, and I've added the sanding sealer starting the process, and so just kind of showing the fitment that it has in there. Maybe not exactly quite perfect as far as looking like it's really in there. If you look, you can tell a bit of some tiny shadows in here, but you know, I think that's perfect as far as what I'm looking for. No one's going to be looking in that wondering what's happening. The only real noticeable thing is just the extra weight from the added wood, which I knew would be the case. One thing I did notice though as I was examining this is this joint here that kind of started to split open from the pressure of forcing that down in there. It's not too bad, and I just did a quick test, and I'll be able to clamp that and glue that shut. So I'll go ahead and throw some glue in those crevices there, and then clamp it and get that fixed back up. Okay, that operation is complete. You can see the clamping and gluing holding together there nicely, and no gaps. There is a little bit of a seam still visible here that, I don't know, not too much I can do about that at this point. I think it'll be fine. One downside is I got a bit carried away with the sanding and wasn't as careful to focus it just right here. I ended up going a little bit too far, and you can kind of see this bit of the corner is trimmed down too far, so it doesn't make a nice 90-degree angle. I don't think it'll be too big of a deal. The only concern is as it sits on the box, if that creates a bit of a gap, I might need to sand the bottom down to match that, just so there's not this extra piece of wood sticking out. But otherwise, good to go to get this sanded down and stained up. And here's the final product, how the box turned out. This is the top, and I've got the name blocked out just for privacy reasons. But you can see I got the baby's footprint on there, and I applied that just using the same technique that I used for applying all my patterns. And just instead of carving it, I left the printer toner on there, and then stained over it and sealed over it and everything. I have another video showing my process of testing out carving that design, so I'll link that if you want to check that out. But yeah, and then I, on the front, added a little clasp latch to hold it shut. Makes it look a bit nicer. That was requested by the buyer. And on the inside then, we can see that final piece glued in place and stained. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Nothing really stands out as being amiss. And one kind of nice byproduct is, as I mentioned earlier, it does add to the weight of the lid, but I think that kind of adds a nice kind of heft or a feel to the box, making it feel more solid and sturdy, because it is just basswood, so it's a fairly light box. Yeah, you might notice these ledges on the inside there. This was a jewelry box intended to be, and so there's a tray that sits in there that was not needed for this purpose. So those are just kind of a remnant, since I don't think I could have removed those without damaging the inside of the box. But that's the final product, and I think that turned out pretty well, especially that big mishap that almost ruined the whole thing on me.